Travel to and from Oklahoma is a lot harder this afternoon. This is why. It's the Kansas Turnpike completely covered in water. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Miller.
And I'm Krista Miller. This is Slate Creek just south of Wellington now, and it's covering I-35. You can see the southbound lanes. This is causing major headaches for drivers this afternoon. You can see it's just covered in water. We have live team coverage of these floods from our meteorologist, Jay Prater. And we'll also go to one of the biggest trouble spots in the state right now, Sumner County.
Well, right now we're at the interchange at 160 and I-35. You can see behind me traffic is backing up as crews are here trying to get cars off of I-35. You're looking at video now sent to KAKE TV just south of Winfield. As you enter town, you can see the line of vehicles trying to get through because of the detour.
So if that's what it was like trying to get into town, you can imagine what it's actually like in Wellington. Sumner County has already declared a state of disaster as it deals with the flooding from last night and now today. KAKE's Pilar Pedraza continues our team coverage. Pilar?
One of the bigger problems actually was Highway 81. It spent most of the day closed here right beside us because the Slate Creek, which is where I'm standing right now, was up and over. This actually shouldn't be any water, but it's up to my waist. This is the intersection of two roads right here, and the water is so high that I can't take another step back toward that sign, which is where I was originally going to do my live shot from. This is the same creek that's been causing all the problems throughout the city of Wellington today.
We've had it happen before, but it's never gotten this bad. Not since we've been down here.
Karen Clark's Wellington neighborhood is underwater. The homes just barely staying dry inside as nearby Slate Creek rose and fell throughout the night.
It was busy. We kept watching the water rising just to make sure it's not going to come in the house.
Others weren't as lucky. Across Sumner County, those same floodwaters filled basements, tore apart fencing, even tossed an air conditioner around. The county says the biggest problem has been getting around to all of the places with flood damage due to so many flooded out roads and highways. Union Pacific even had to repair railroad tracks along the creek. Clark says she's seen floods come and go, and while this one is worse than the others, she doesn't plan to let a little water chase her out of her home.
Yeah, we've been here all this time, so we just stay down here and just kind of watch. There's nowhere to go. I mean, all over town's pretty flooded.
Now, this is just over the past 36 hours. That's the window we're going to use. This is Doppler radar estimates. Got to take a little bit of a grain of salt, but look at the bullseye near Douglas here in 77. That's almost a foot of rainfall in the past 36 hours.
Now it's 6. Days of pounding rain send rivers, streams, and creeks over their banks.
I've been here for about 8 years, and I've never seen it this high up.
Basements flooded.
I never dreamed that it would get this high.
Schools and major highways closed.
It's a bad situation.
As flood warnings remain in effect across much of KAKE land.
But first, we want to show you just how menacing the high waters are. You're about to see video from the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. It shows the turnpike just south of Wellington. You can see the water has washed over parts of I-35. Cars, in fact, swept away. Police rerouted traffic. Authorities shut down a 20-mile stretch this morning. Tonight, it is still closed.
The interchange of Highway 160 and I-35 is where you will be forced to exit the highway if you're going south. This red line that you see is where the turnpike is closed.
Tonight, decision makers are waiting for the water to get low enough so engineers can get a look under the bridge along I-35 and see if the flooding did any structural damage. Good evening, I'm Craig DeGrelli.
And I'm Deb Ferris. In the meantime, there's a major backup of detoured traffic in Wellington. That's where we find KAKE's Pilar Pedraza with the very latest. Pilar.
Well, Deb, sheriff's deputies tell me that there are about 20,000 extra cars a day coming through Wellington because of this closure here at the turnpike. You can see here the backup. It goes on for miles, and it's costing some professional truck drivers money, although that may be helping out some local Wellington businesses.
A pain in the... It was a big pain because it's a long way around out of here.
James Davis got caught in these detours from the turnpike twice. Wednesday night heading south and again Thursday heading north.
and probably tomorrow again.
The extra hours spent driving the long way around, costing him time he doesn't have. Professional truckers can only spend so many hours behind the wheel before they legally have to put it in park.
Yeah, I can't even move the truck right now. If I do, it's in violation, and I'm not into getting tickets.
I honestly thought there wasn't going to be any spots available here because a lot of truckers might not have any time.
Casey Larson knows James' pain. He'd hoped to get home early Thursday and pick up another run. That's not happening now.
Part of the stuff you just got to deal with being on the road, you know?
The detour forcing drivers to move through towns they normally wouldn't stop in is big business for local convenience stores along the detour route, especially with traffic often moving at just 2 miles an hour.
I bet Casey's right here is having some good business, then better be making more pizzas.
Despite their losses, both Casey and James say they'd rather take this route than risk crossing a potentially dangerous bridge.
We're just hoping that, you know, with the flooding, that these bridges aren't structurally damaged. That's one primary thing.
I didn't want to go through there after I heard about it, but that's the quickest, easiest route for me, so I need that route open.
Now, the state is saying that they do expect to reopen this section of the turnpike between South Haven and Wellington sometime later tonight. Stick with KAKE News. We'll let you know when that happens. Live in Sumner County, Pilar Pedraza, KAKE News, on your side.
In Halstead, the Little Arkansas River isn't so little anymore.
It doesn't happen very often.
And Riverside Park is becoming part of the river itself.
It's just unbelievable how much Mother Nature can put on us with all this rain and everything.
A flood gauge built as an Eagle Scout project shows just how deep the river is.
It's a bad story for the farmers and the crops that are underwater, so that's the sad part of it.
While some watch, others have started filling sandbags.
We have went ahead and closed our west floodgate that's on Halstead Road, just in anticipation of the water levels continuing to rise. And then we have pre-staged sandbags for our east gate.
Those sandbags will reinforce this floodgate if the waters get high enough. This floodgate is well taller than I am, and I'm about 6'1". It's also the reason so many people here in Halstead feel safe. It's those gates that are reassuring the people who live here.
Halstead is safe. We're dry because of this levee that they built. So even though there's a flood going on, I'm high and dry at home.
Even lifelong residents,
Born and raised here.
credit them for keeping the water away.
Thank goodness they finally put that in, or this town would probably be in real trouble this time.
A flood control system which could be put to the test as that water just creeps higher.
This is one of many roads across the county that are still closed today. This one took a lot of damage from the flooding. You can see here that damage, torn up asphalt, comes all the way up to the beginning of this bridge. And add to it another problem. The floodwaters, when they came through, washed away about 8 feet of the riverbank on this side of the road. Just part of the problem they're dealing with out here.
It could have been worse, yes.
In Cowley County, road crews started the week off cleaning up, clearing flood debris off the roads and removing damaged pieces of the road.
This is one of our bigger damages. We had some roads that are paved roads that had a lot of debris put through.
They also brought in inspectors to check out some of the bridges, like the East Chestnut Bridge here.
You know, there's some large tree limbs or large trees coming down these rivers, and if one of them hits in a spot just right, it could have a major effect.
The road damage goes right up to the beginning of the bridge, and Lucas Goff, Cowley County Administrator, is worried it may not be safe to drive on.
We don't fix or design these styles of bridges anymore, so that complicates the process.
As does the loss of a major portion of the riverbank leading up to that bridge. Once roads are cleared and bridges secured, many will still need heavy repairs, even the dirt and gravel roads.
They have this what they call geogrid. They place that down. They have to build the road back into its capacity. So it's not just throw some gravel on it, grade it, and walk away.
Goff says it could take days, maybe a week or two, to make basic repairs to all the damaged roads and get them back open, comparing this year's floods to the flood of '98. In the meantime, he asked drivers to have patience.
There's still water on the road, don't pass it. If the road's closed or blocked, don't pass it.
KAKE's Pilar Pedraza met one farmer in Cowley County who has been stranded by rising waters 3 times already this month.
Tuesday morning, the floodwaters around Matt Hutchison's farm came down enough he could finally get out of the house after 3 days. Over the weekend, it was a different story.
We have a trampoline that the water was covering. We could boat over the trampoline. It gets up to 6 feet deep in some areas.
He and his wife say living this close to the river, flooding is a known problem.
We expect flooding. We prepare for it.
They've raised the house so it doesn't get wet and have a boat, but that's not enough to let them get off the farm in the worst of it.
So far this month, we've been in about, I think, 9 days, not consecutive, but the first flood 3 days, and then last week 3 days, and then of course this weekend 3 days.
Their biggest problem is the water coming from under the train bridge and down to this intersection. It carries quite a current. Right now, little more than a slight drag on my feet, but when it reaches 2, 3, 4 feet in depth, it can carry quite a punch, as you can see from that damaged street sign.
Which makes it impossible to get the boat across.
They've actually seen the water deeper than this. This year, the problem is...
This time it's just been the length of the flood and the frequency with all the rain.
Our cameras caught car after car going around road barricades set up by the county because the highway is flooded. This is what happens when drivers decide to ignore the warnings.
I've seen a lot of people drive through it and try to get through it. People get stranded. We've rescued people up north of town up here, up by where I live.
John Steele says although it's tough, he finds another route home instead of going through due to the consequences of chancing it.
If you get stranded in it, you're going to be hypothermia. So, and yeah, sometimes it's deeper than what you think it is, and it's swifter.
Getting your car swept away is one thing. What's in the water is another.
There's lots of raw sewage in our flooded roadways, hazardous chemicals. There's just a multitude of hazards that these people face when they choose to drive around the barricade.
And what's all the way under it causes more hazards.
There's some areas that are washed out, and we've been flooded for approximately 3 weeks now, and we just don't have any idea what's under some of that water.
70 road closures in the county, 25 with high water. Emergency crews have been called out 6 different times for high water rescues, putting everyone involved in danger.
They're driving around the barricades and putting themselves in danger and putting our first responders in danger that have to go out and rescue them.
Well, the Army Corps of Engineers has increased the amount of water it's releasing from El Dorado Lake into the Walnut River several times today. KAKE's Pilar Pedraza joins us live now with why it's not just a way to prevent flooding, but it's also a free meal for some. Hey, Pilar.
Well, Deb, that is most certainly the case. And as we take a look here where we're standing at the top of the spillway, you can certainly hear it. If you look over the edge here, you can see that is 4,200 cubic feet of water coming through that gate every second. That is the goal that the Army Corps has been aiming for as they increase the amount throughout the day. And every time they have increased it, they started with a warning siren. Even as the water pouring through the spillway has gotten faster and stronger, leading to warnings down the Walnut River of safety. More have gathered here at the spillway to watch and to fish. They say when the water comes through, so do a lot of fish, especially channel cat and flatheads. While the purpose of all this is to relieve flooded conditions in the lake before more rain falls over the weekend, fishers are glad for the chance to take home a free meal, though sometimes that's easier said than done.
This current's really strong, so, you know, it can, like what I'm doing here, you know, it moves around. And so, you know, you can get snagged in the rocks pretty easy, but, you know, it's what you just, you know, it's what you have to do to get to where the fish are.
Now, at this point, the Army Corps of Engineers has reached that goal it was making to 4,200 cubic feet per second, which is a record level pouring through this gate. Now, at that level, we are talking about as much water coming through this spillway every day as the city of El Dorado uses in a year. Live at the El Dorado Dam, Pilar Pedraza, KAKE News on your side.